With the pledge, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So just a couple of quick points before we start with the agenda. As I'm sure you all know, unless you were under a rock, we had a major snow event yesterday. Probably the largest one in several years here in Bayville, and I wanted to commend our highway and sanitation departments. They did a phenomenal job in the conditions of keeping the roads clear. And I just wanted to thank them all for their time and dedication. They really did a great job. Tomorrow is a Tuesday, regular Tuesday garbage day. The garbage days did not get pushed. So if your garbage normally goes out on a Tuesday, your garbage goes out tomorrow. The Monday people lost a day. You get picked up on Thursday, and Wednesday is the regular bulk day, scheduled for whatever zone that it is scheduled for. And then lastly, I wanted to congratulate the Oak Neck Athletic Council. They're celebrating their 30th year of running the youth sports here in Bayville. Literally thousands of kids have gone through the program for many different sports. They do a wonderful job, and we're very lucky to have them. And congratulations to them. That's all I have.
Okay, we'll get started with the agenda. The first item on the agenda are the warrants and claims, which have been audited and are put through for you for approval for payment.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee Tucker.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Walsh. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee DiNatale.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Even snowplow text.
The next item on the agenda are the prior meeting minutes from the December 15, 2025 meeting, and again, they're put before you for approval. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee Santoro.
I'll
Thank you, Trustee Tucker. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee DiNatale.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda are proposals for, the next item on the agenda is actually the introduction of proposed local law B-2026. And I don't see the individual who brought this to us here this evening, but I guess we'll introduce it anyhow. It is for a four-way stop at the intersection of First Avenue and 4th Street. It has been reviewed by Village Council, and it was brought to us based on a petition with the majority of the residents on that area requesting that such a stop intersection be established. So it would be introduced here today and then be set for aging and the hearing at the February 23rd meeting.
Correct. That's fine.
Thank you. The next item then on the agenda are the electrical upgrades to the West Harbor Beach concession area. We've received proposals from Rocco Ronaldo and Advanced Electrical. Rocco Ronaldo's proposal was the lesser of the two proposals for a total of $4,525. Do I have a motion to accept this proposal?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee Santoro.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee DiNatale. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee DiNatale.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The town of Oyster Bay is the Register of Vital Statistics for the Village of Bayville, and this is a resolution to appoint that town of Oyster Bay once again as the Register of Vital Statistics. The appointment expires December 31st, 2027.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Trustee Santoro.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Tucker. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee DiNatale.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item is the installation and emergency repairs for water mains and appurtenances. This resolution is to accept the recommendation from H2M to accept the contract extension from Alessio Pipe and Construction for the period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026 for the total contract amount of $275,541. $278,541. As you are aware, we went out to bid 2 years ago for this contract, and Alessio was the winner of the bid from the very first year, and he had 2 renewal options, and each one is recommending that we do renew the contract with Alessio. It provides for the ability to handle emergency water service, water main breaks, service breaks, etc.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal.
Thank you, Trustee Di Natale.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Santoro. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Mayor Di Natale.
Yes.
Mayor, Trustee Di Natale. Mayor Minicozy.
Yes.
The next item is a proposal from H2M, and this is to perform the spring and fall semi-annual inspections of the elevated water storage tanks. It's required by Nassau County Department of Health. A unit price of $1,500 for each inspection, and the total is $3,000. And that price has stayed consistent for actually quite a few years now. So,
I'll make a motion.
thank you, Trustee Santoro.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Walsh. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozy.
Yes.
We have another proposal from H2M. This is related to the MS4, or Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Services. The MS4 is an annual report that's required by New York State DEC, and the Village of Bayville does participate in that. It covers storm water management plan updates, interim progress report certification, MS4 annual report, technical assistance, and electronic filing of the reports. Again, this is required by New York State DEC, and the total cost of the proposal is $17,000.
I'll make a proposal to accept I'll make a resolution to accept the proposal.
Thank you, Trustee Di Natale.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Santoro. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozy.
Yes.
The next item is a part of the financing for the borrowing of funds for the lease purchase of 2 new trucks for the Village of Bayville. And I will read it, that it would be resolved that the borrowing by the Incorporated Village of Bayville from Comquip Capital and Leasing, Inc. of funds to finance the purchase of certain equipment which has been or will be purchased by the Incorporated Village of Bayville, and the granting of a security interest to creditor in such equipment is hereby approved by the Mayor of the Village of Bayville. Is hereby approved, and the Mayor of the Village of Bayville is authorized in the name and on behalf of the Incorporated Village of Bayville to execute and deliver to creditor a chattel mortgage covering such equipment, containing such terms and provisions as may be approved by the Board of Trustees, executing the same, his execution thereof to be deemed conclusive evidence of such approval. And the Mayor of the Incorporated Village of Bayville is authorized in the name and on behalf of this Incorporated Village of Bayville to execute and deliver such other documents and take such other action as he may deem necessary or advisable to effectuate and perform such chattel mortgage. And if you remember, we did approve the purchase of these trucks back in the fall, and now we're ready to take possession and finance the trucks.
And I looked over the chattel
Thank you,
mortgage,
yes.
and it's acceptable.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Trustee Santoro.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Trustee Di Natale. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozy.
Yes.
We have a request from the village church to approve parking on Mountain Avenue and toll services at Soundside Beach. They sent us an email dated actually Sunday, January 18th. They're asking to park cars on Mountain Avenue, January 31st. They have 2 events that day at the church, and they're asking for parking in case they have an overflow of cars that day. They're also the permission for their sunrise service at 7 a.m. at Soundside Beach on Easter Sunday, April 5th, and also to continue 8 a.m. services at Soundside Beach every Sunday, June 7th through October 25th. And again, this is something they have done every year.
You need a motion for all
Yes.
three?
Yes, we'll do it as one resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Walsh. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santoro?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale?
Yes.
Mayor Minnikoski?
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is a proposal from General Utility. They were the General Security, thank you, to install smart security systems integrating with the current alarm system, alarm.com, enterprise platform with central station monitoring for a cost of $1,700 for installation and monitoring fee of $30 monthly. It's monthly at $30 a month. So,
The installation is 17.
$1,700, correct.
This is for the water.
This is for the water department, and, yes, so, do I have a motion to, accept that proposal?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, trustee Tucker.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Santoro. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santoro?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale?
Yes.
Mayor Minnikoski?
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is a proposal from AC Shelters to repair well 1-3. The total cost of $41,081. However, this is a very necessary cost so as to get that well back up and running. Currently, it had a problem with its shaft, I believe it was, correct, Mayor? And it has been looked at by AC Shelties, and they have determined what needs to be done. And again, the cost is $31,000. It's imperative that we do this repair work, so again, to get the well back online.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, trustee Tucker.
Second that motion.
Thank you, trustee Di Natale. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santoro?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale?
Yes.
Mayor Minnikoski?
Yes.
Again, for the water department, well, this section, the water department, the scabbard and the museum. We have two proposals here, one from General Security and one from Ultra Audio Visual for the installation of an access control system, again, for the water department, scout room, and museums, the areas up here at Village Hall Complex. And General Security was the lesser of the two proposals, and their cost is $8,750 for the installation and a monitoring monthly fee of $24.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, trustee Santoro.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Walsh. Trustee Walsh,
Yes.
trustee Santoro,
Yes.
trustee Tucker,
Yes.
trustee Di Natale,
Yes.
Mayor Minnikoski.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is a proposal from Bridge Marine to replace a gate dock at Village Creek Marina. This is something that's been in need of repair or replacement for quite a while, and we are looking to go ahead with it. The total cost is $13,838.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, trustee Tucker.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Santoro. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale.
Yes.
Mayor Minnikoski.
Yes.
And the next item on the agenda is a resolution to divide the village into election districts for the June 16th, 2026 election, general election. And it reads that the general election of the Incorporated Village of Bayville, Nassau County, New York, will be held on June 16, 2026, for the purpose of choosing and electing one mayor for a term of 4 years and 3 trustees, each for a term of 4 years. Now therefore be it resolved that the election districts established for general elections, other than general village elections, will be divided into 5 village election districts as follows. Village Election District 1 is Assembly District 13-ED1. Village Election District 2 is Assembly District 13, Election District 4. Village Election District 3 is Assembly District 13, Election District 5. Village Election District 4 is Assembly District 13, Election District 9. Village Election District 5 is Assembly District 13, Election District 5. And be it further resolved that the polling place for all village election districts will be at the firehouse of the Bayville Fire Company, number 1, at 258 Bayville Avenue, Bayville, New York, 11709. And what this is that we take the various individual assembly districts and election districts that are usually used at the general election, and we break it into districts to be used for the village election. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second that motion.
Thank you, trustee Walsh and trustee Di Natale. Trustee Walsh,
Yes.
trustee Tucker. I'm sorry, trustee Santora.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale.
Yes.
Mayor Minnikoski.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last item is for the mayor to discuss briefly that we are going to go out for proposals for the concession lease.
Yes,
For the
the
West
first one
Harlow
would be
concession
concession stand. We will be looking for, well, we have a guideline that we'll be giving out to accept proposals for someone to run the West Harlow Beach Snack Bar this summer. We did not have anybody for the last 2 or 3 years since Gooseberry Bob last had it, but as you can see from our agenda, we've made some upgrades to the concession stand, and we hope to have somebody there selling hot dogs and hamburgers this year, so we hope.
No, I should do it. So the next item, well, not the next item, but we're going on to the public hearing for proposed local law A-2026. It was scheduled for 6:35 a.m. Let the record show it is 6:48 p.m. And I'll read the notice, and notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before and by the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Bayville, Nassau County, New York, at the Bayville Village Hall, 34 School Street, Bayville, in said village, on Monday, January 26th at 6:30 p.m. Again, the record shows it's 6:48 p.m. The hearing will be on whether to enact proposed local law A-2026, amendment chapter 80, zoning, section 80-3, definitions of word usage, section 80-61, fences, visibility at street intersections and mailboxes, and section 80-66.1, transient rental of dwellings in all resident districts of the code of the village of Bayville. The proposed local law will add new definitions to section 80-3 for dwelling, multifamily dwelling, and amend the definitions of floor area ratio and structure. A copy of the proposed local law A-2026 is on file at the Village Hall at the above address, where it may be reviewed during normal business hours until the time of the hearing. The proposed local law is available for review it was available and is available at the Bayville website, bayvilleny.gov. All persons will be heard at the above time and place by order of the Board of Trustees, Maria Alfano Hardy, Village Clerk Treasurer, and the notice was dated January 14th. For the record, we have an affidavit of posting from Newsday. We have an affidavit of posting for our locations here in the village, and the law was aged in accordance with the
In accordance with the requirements of the village law.
Right, and I'll turn it over to the village attorney now for this part of the discussion to explain further. Thank you.
This local law basically was to clarify some issues that weren't covered in the zoning code. The more important one was the thing involving the rental of, transient rental of dwellings. And what this did was to make it applicable to all dwellings, because the former law talked about those that were in the residence district. This is now including all districts, so that if you have, in a business district, a dwelling with someone above stores or what like that, they can't rent out part of their property, or they have to follow the mandates of that law. The law also adds a definition of dwelling so that there isn't any misunderstanding about what the law means. And also, it makes, it clarifies something, because there was a portion of the thing regarding the height of a fence and whatever, that it clarifies. So it's all shown in the law as you can see it, and basically that's the purpose of this particular local law.
Excuse me, I don't know what the proper procedure is, but I would like to address the trustees on this issue, either now or before they vote.
If you are addressing the board on the matter before them, which is this proposed local law,
Yes.
you may do so now.
Okay. So I read the
Excuse
revisions.
me, I apologize, I
Sure.
need you for the record.
James Schleicher, SCHLEICHER, 12 Shorewood Drive in Bayville.
Thank you.
Sure. So I read the revisions and I was confused about the changes to the fence heighting. And besides that, I don't believe there's anywhere in the village code a specification of how many backyards or side yards a corner lot has. So that being said, it's very difficult to interpret this law as written, and I would suggest that you go back and clarify that point.
I don't know what you mean by backyards, but the purpose of this fence code that was written by the building inspector was, we recently had a situation where two neighbors that happened to be on Perry Avenue, they put up a fence that was 4 feet up to basically to the sidewalk. So when the neighbor was trying to get out of their driveway, they could not see. The fence was too tall. So Doug, the building inspector, wanted to lower the height of the fence at the curb line, which is what he did, to
Yeah.
2.5 feet.
Right, that's fine, I have no problem with that part.
So I don't understand what you're saying about
Well,
backyards.
isn't it, Peter, am I correct to say when you have a corner lot and you have 2 front yards, but
Yeah.
your yard is just one?
The code talks about side yards, front yards, and when you do have a corner lot, you can get into some confusion as to what is which. And normally, people take the front yard as that being the one that sort of faces the front door, and then the other one's considered a side lot, but it can create a certain amount of confusion. And I don't believe what we're trying to do in this law in any way creates a problem with that.
No, but I think he's asking for us to clarify it in the code, but I don't feel
We
that
can't
it's-
do it now.
Right, I know we
That's
can't,
my
I don't
point.
see that it's unclear in the code.
Well, no, it is, okay, so the part that I'm talking about is the part that revises the height of the fence on the side and the backyard. There's a revision to that part. And when you make a revision to that part, you have to be able to interpret what is the side yard and what is the backyard. And for my property, I have a corner lot, I have 2 front yards, but there's no clarification as to how many side yards or backyards I have. So I don't know how to interpret that law, and so I would contend that it's unenforceable. I change.
The backyard's always been the backyard.
I think I'd have to study that question a little bit more, but I don't know why we shouldn't adopt this law.
Yeah, I know.
But I agree with you, that if,
Well, if I'm gonna put up the fence, it's gonna be a problem.
well, I hear what you're saying.
It's an immediate problem.
No, I hear what you're saying,
Okay.
but what I'm trying to say is that on this law, I don't know whether it prevents you from doing what you wish to do, but if in fact we need something in the code that would remedy any problem that you perceive, then, we can consider it. That's my point. It's hard to make a change to the law at this point because it's been noticed in a certain form. So I'd be more than happy to, consult with you about what your point is and exactly how it might clarify what you want to do.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
that's fine with me.
just a little bit more background on it. So I'm not aware that the building inspector has made a determination on some of my complaints. So in the event that I am denied the complaint with respect to the camera, I feel that it is necessary to raise my fence so that the camera is not peering into my backyard. And I cannot interpret, I would like to raise it to 6 feet or even 8 feet. I realize that 8 feet is going to require a variance.
Yeah.
But to 6 feet, I would like to get that in the event that I get an unfavorable decision.
Well,
I
I hear what you're saying, and I know about your complaint. I don't think the building inspector has, I haven't been notified that he's taken action. I know he intends to. I believe he went out and visited you.
He did.
So, I think, unfortunately, there was a delay in him getting to do that because he went, just as you made that complaint, I believe he went on about a 3-week vacation. He had a planned vacation, so he couldn't get on it right away. I believe he's on track to do that with you. That's my understanding, okay?
Okay.
And let him do that. And then if he satisfies your concern, then it might be academic. That's my point. So let him do what he has to do on the basis of your complaint.
But the problem is that in D, it adds in any side yard or rear yard. Okay, and that makes a big difference to me, based on whether I have, 2 side yards or, and I can't interpret that because the code doesn't specify.
Okay, the code doesn't say, at least in your mind, it doesn't take care of that problem. Maybe it has to be amended at a future time to take care of that. Okay, that's all I'm saying. We can't change this that we have advertised at this point, because we haven't really changed much of the law except what we're doing on here.
But you added side yard to the back yard, the restriction.
No,
I
I think you're misinterpreting what we're doing with the code changes today. We're actually making a code change that would help your situation, from what I understand. I mean, we're deleting a section that limits the fence height to 2.5 feet.
No, we're lowering. So at the curb line, the fence cannot be any higher than 2.5. Is the intention of the.
No, I get your point, and that there's something to that point.
My understanding of the side yard and rear yard, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the front yard, you know what your real front yard is, your front door. I know you're familiar with your lot. And then because you're on a corner, you might have to have setbacks on that corner side yard to be that of a front yard setback.
Yes.
But your rear yard is still your rear yard, and your other side yard is still your side yard.
Okay, well, that would be great.
That's the way it's always been.
If that's the way it's
And the
going to be
reason for it-
interpreted.
The reason for
Why
it
would
is
you
the
put
code.
a 6-foot fence up on your property line?
On the rear yard.
In the event that it's interpreted that because I have 2 front yards, I therefore have 2 side yards and 2 back
No,
yards.
the front yard, it's just because you're gonna have a setback for that side yard that's on the corner. Your setback will be that of a front yard setback.
Okay.
For setback purposes. That's the way I've
Okay.
always understood it.
If that's
before.
fine,
It is always-
Obviously, that's the same situation.
That's one of the problems I think our code has it a little bit.
So that's
May I make a suggestion, James?
Yes.
Why don't we do this? I think this law ought to stay the way it is, but if there's good reason to change something to clarify what our code says, we could do that at a future time. That's my point.
Okay.
You don't have a 6-foot fence now?
No, I have a 4-foot fence, and it's a scallop, I didn't put it in, but it's a 4-foot fence and it's scalloped, which means it's even lower so the camera can see more, because it's a scallop fence. And I would like to remove the scallop, in which case I can't do that without a building permit. according to this alteration piece that's been put in. But secondly, I would like to go to 6, and if I want to get a variance, I can go higher.
Well,
But if I can't go to 6 because of the interpretation of having more than one side yard and backyard,
at the last meeting, you made a complaint about someone putting a surveillance camera that went into your yard and also went into your yard.
yes.
And that is something that I believe the building inspector is addressing with the owner of that property. I don't believe it's been done yet. I think with the snowstorm and some of the confusion, there might have been some delay on that, but in any event, let him take care of that matter first. And if it doesn't meet your satisfaction and it requires some sort of a code change, then I think the board can consider it. That's all I'm saying, okay?
All right.
That's all I'm trying to get across, okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions on the local law?
And then I'll take a motion to close the hearing, please.
I'll make a motion.
Trustee Santoro, second.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Di Natale. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santoro? Yes. Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale?
Yes.
Mayor Milicozzi?
Yes.
And then we have the resolution
Yeah.
to adopt the law.
Okay.
Whereas the Board of Trustees on December 15, 2025 introduced proposed local law A-2026 to amend Chapter 80 zoning, Section 80-3 definitions and word usage, Section 80-61 fences, visibility at intersections and mailboxes, and Section 80-66.1 transient rental of dwellings in all resident districts of the code of the Village of Bayville. And whereas the village attorney, having prepared a short form environmental assessment form, recommended that the board declare the proposed law as an unlisted action under SECRA and declare a negative declaration. Therefore be resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby declares itself as lead agency in connection with the adoption of said local law. And further resolved, this board deems the adoption of such local law as an unlisted action. And further resolved, this board hereby makes a negative declaration determines the adoption of such law will not have an adverse effect on the environment. And further resolved, all the appropriate notices and approvals required for the enactment of said local law have been properly made and given as required by law. And further resolved, that proposed local law A-2026 adopted as local law 1 of the year 2026 be, and the same is hereby enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Bayville as follows. And do I have a motion to adopt the law?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, trustee Santoro.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Walsh. Continue call the board.
Yes.
Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santoro?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Trustee Di Natale?
Yes.
Mayor Milicozzi?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no other items before the board this evening.
All right, so we have some guests here. Jerry.
Jerry Flower, 9 Baldwin Boulevard. Also 2 Jeff Sumsick.
22 Clement.
22 Clement. We are the president and vice president of Bayville Estates Association, Section 4 Homeowners Road Association. We'd like to present the board and the mayor a packet for repaving and repairing the road up there, the whole entire area at this time. This started over back in 2024. We had a meeting, and at that meeting we sent out a survey to all the homeowners there, and at that time we got back a majority of the homeowners wanted to go ahead with this project. So we've been going forward with that. We had to write up a RFP. We had to get bids sent out. Once we got bids back in, we looked them over, we decided on a price, and an assessment for each house. We, sent out, and then we went around and we went to the bids. We went with petitions, according to the village requirement code, and we got petitions signed by 80 homes out of 123, so we're well over the 50%, 51% required. So we'd like to move forward with the project. In here is a copy of the bid package, the RFP that was sent out, the scope of the work, copies of the bids that were sent back to us, and a list of the names that signed the petitions and the signed petitions.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's any other questions or things of it that,
Doug wants to make a determination, right? Did Doug, the building inspector, go and make his
Not yet.
No, not yet. You would need the proposals to review. They'll review the proposals also. I was speaking with Salas Duda, Supervisor Water, and he would like to look at the area too, in case there's any changes that would need to be made while you're doing the repair to the water, whether it's hydrants or water service there, that could be changed. So he also would like to look at it. And then after that, the building inspector will report to the board, and then we can go from there in terms of scheduling the hearings.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Mr. Schleicher, you wanted to say something else?
So you have my name and address, right?
That's very good. Thank you very much.
I'm not very familiar with the process here, but I had approached the village clerk about adding an agenda item to take a vote on whether the meeting minutes from last meeting and just transcription of what was discussed by Mr. Pincus and I, and the interchange back and forth would be part of the meeting minutes. And the reason for that is we still feel that the illegal driveway use is hazardous to the community. And we have no other way to address that item at this point in time other than to seek a determination by the building inspector and then go through the appellate process if we don't get a favorable ruling. And so Mr. Pincus and I feel that we're liable for any kind of accident that might occur. And we also feel that the village board of trustees and those trustees individually, since we have notified the trustees of this hazardous situation, would be liable if something unfortunate were to happen. So we want to notify the community that there is this issue so that people are aware and are taking safeguards when they're traveling down the road. And I was, my request to add an agenda item to take a vote on behalf of the Board of Trustees was denied. And I was told that each trustee was queried as to that. So I'm here to say that, and I think Mr. Pincus wants to talk as well. But I would like to request that a vote be taken on this matter for those reasons.
So for the last 20 years, it wasn't hazardous, but now it is? I'm just curious, because something obviously happened between you and the neighbor that all of a sudden the driveway's been there for 20 years, now it's hazardous, but it wasn't for the last 20 years.
The neighbor has chosen to use it actively as a driveway. And there is no evidence of any kind of building permit or any kind of process that's supposed to be followed by the village taken to get approval for use of that area as a driveway. I went so far as...
I'm sorry, isn't that second driveway on the survey for that property? It's been on the survey for many years, I believe.
Well, I went so far as to hire a surveyor.
Well, I'm not talking about a current survey, I'm talking about over.
No, that driveway became a driveway after 2010.
Well,
I I think it's
May I
on.
make a comment?
It could have been them.
I've discussed this with the building inspector, and apparently from his investigation, and that's looking at some Google photographs that go back
I gave those
a number of
to him.
years. It's my understanding that as far back as 2016, those aerial photographs show a paved surface where I believe the neighbor at 16 Valley was storing boats in there, okay?
Yes.
And my point is that condition is a pre-existing non-conforming feature of his property. He has the right to maintain that paved surface because that was placed there prior to the time in, I believe, 2022, when we adopted a law saying that there's only so much paving in the front yard of the property. And so my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that pavement has been there and it's non-conforming, it's pre-existing. We don't have any right to say he can't use that anymore. Now, I know that you showed some photographs of him parking his car halfway into that area and partially out on the street.
Mhm.
And that's something, I don't think it's for the building inspector to determine. I think that's something for the police department to take care of. If someone's parking out on the street like that and obstructing, then of course he could be given a summons by the traffic, by the police. But that condition or that so-called paved area there has been there since 2016, according to the information.
That's correct, but the 26% rule,
But you don't understand. The rule was adopted after that place was established.
I don't believe so.
Well,
The law
That's a
only
recent-
came in
that's a recent-
2022, we just, just, it's 4 years ago now, but.
I mean,
But that was adopted,
that was in 2022 when we passed that law.
The 26% rule of a paved front yard was enacted in 2022.
Yes, that's
I
what
mean,
it
I'm
was
not
adopted.
saying, if he says it was 22, it was 22, but it was while I was on the board, for sure.
Yeah, and it was when the Mayor Talley was the mayor, and he said, look, I think there's too much paving in front yards, and that's when that came into effect. But the aerial photographs show that area had been established prior to that time.
No, I do understand that.
Yeah, so.
I had the surveyor find the photographs, but my belief was that the 26% rule was enacted in 2005.
No.
No, I was not at all. I was a city mayor, and Mr. Weiler.
We actually, I drafted the law that required, that put a restriction on how much paving you could do. So I recall that quite well. So I think that's probably a misconception you have. And
Okay,
again.
how do I research that? How do I find out when the fact that the date of the enactment of that 26%?
Oh, we'll send you a copy of that law. We adopted it in 2016. I double checked it.
2022.
And what about the rule for?
I mean, not 2006. It was, the photograph was from 2016 showing two boats parked there and a pavement, a gravel.
Yeah.
It was a gravel pavement. So that condition existed prior to 2022 when the front yard restriction came into effect.
Okay.
That's
Well,
what
if
happened.
that's true, I understand.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
I was not under that impression,
I understand.
and I tried to research it myself.
Yeah.
When was the rule for a dry well necessary for 200 square feet of pavement?
A dry well?
Dry well for a 200 or greater
I don't know.
square foot
I don't know.
paved area? Because I think it's a violation for that as well.
Well, that I don't know. I think when you talk about drainage scenarios, I don't know whether the code has a specific standard of so many square feet. I think it's a thing that the building inspector will look at when certain things are done. But you got to remember that in this particular case, you had a situation where that space, if you will, on that person's property pre-existed. But I do think that the parking of an automobile in a manner which is out in the middle of the road, or partially out in the middle of the road, is unsafe. And that's something I think the police can take care of.
Yeah, if I could say just a few things. Cliff Pincus, 14 Shorewood Drive. Really in support of everything that he's already stated, but just a couple of points. I think you have to look at the intent of when that gravel was placed, right? You mentioned boats. The previous owner, they put 2 boats there. It was not intended as a driveway. It was never intended as a driveway to park cars. My understanding, by the way, is the prior building inspector had come by, met with Mark and Laura, and had said to them, hey, we'll give the option of putting a driveway in the front of your house so you can have like an oval shape to turn around and so forth. By the way, they can park at least 10 cars in their driveway right now. So it goes back to intent of use. There's no reason why they need that particular space. That space was there to store boats. My understanding is there was no permits issued for them to be able to install that. I'm talking about the prior owners before Mark and Laura had purchased the property. But I will tell you, as the person who is directly across from that driveway, you mentioned about cars being parked halfway into the street. Yeah, there is an issue with cars that are being parked inappropriately that could pose a safety hazard in one way. But more specifically, when they are pulling in and pulling out of that particular location, it's a safety hazard for me, because if I'm pulling out at the same time they're pulling out, some of these cars are going to get damaged. Number 2, when they're pulling out, they're coming within inches of my car because we've got opposing driveways. And number 3, probably most importantly, is you've got other cars and you've got young kids who are coming and going down that street. God forbid something happens because someone has a gravel area that they're parking in, I would argue inappropriately, when they could park 10 cars in a space right next door, right, which is appropriate. Furthermore, I've got people who are looking at my coming and goings 24/7, and that camera, as I mentioned last time I was here, is pointing directly at my bathroom. So my shades are open. I'm giving them a free show, okay? I don't think anybody would want that to happen. That's totally inappropriate. Yes?
May I ask a couple of questions? The camera issue, I think we can separate out and put aside for now. Are you saying specifically that you are trying to put liability on the board for determining that a driveway that has been in existence since at least 2016 is an unsafe condition because it's opposite your driveway?
I think it's a combination of factors. It is opposite my driveway that creates an unsafe condition. It's also in a location where they have a very difficult time when they're backing out and having a line of sight to be able to know who's coming down the street or who's departing the street.
Every single small street in Bayville has driveways that oppose each other. What makes this any different?
Well, they have a row of green giants that's approximately 25 feet tall that blinds their line of sight to be able to back out of that driveway. The building inspector, I'm certain, has seen this. So, which, by the way, if we go back to, because I've been there before that driveway, let's call it the gravel area was installed, and there were green giants that were planted along where the fence line is right now. There was no driveway. That driveway was placed there purely to store boats. It was not the intent to have a driveway there or a gravel area there to park cars. And I think what it comes down to is really forewarning the board to say, we've made you aware of this condition, and God forbid something happens, and you guys were aware that this condition existed, then what happens at that point? Where's the liability fall? And I say that very respectfully, you know, again, I look at this and I understand the law is the law, but you have to say, if I own a house and I can park 10 cars here, there's absolutely no reason why I need to have a gravel area to park an additional 1 or 2 cars.
What
There's
is the
no reason for it.
what is the homeowner say when you ask them?
We've both spoken to the homeowner, and, you know, quite frankly, we were not met favorably with those discussions. He got very defensive about it.
And his reasoning for using is it gravel or paved?
It's
Or
gravel.
piece?
It's paved gravel.
I think
What
the
is that?
difference, I think the
In the
difference,
code, gravel is considered paving.
I think the difficulty is that you're trying to control how a person utilizes this property. And I don't know whether that person or anybody else would say the same thing about you, because you might pull out of your driveway and interfere with that. It's a kind of a thing that I think is a difficult thing. And it's unfortunate that the fact that it's there may create some angst to you, but that's true of anybody that owns a piece of property. That's a pre-existing condition that person has the right to use. And we don't have a regulation that says you can't have that extra space. That's my point.
But if a person installed something like that and never got approvals to do it,
You don't need approval to my
And
knowledge.
it's not,
there's-
he didn't need dry wells either because it's gravel. He doesn't.
Do you know, I live around the corner.
Yeah, gravel is considered impervious surface.
yeah.
And
Gravel does not need
there's natty driveways like you're describing, it's just the way it is. It's the fact of life in Bayville, it's tight, and they face each other.
Mr. Slaker's driveway is just as much across from your driveway as your neighbor's.
No, it's a bit of an offset. Because
And
when
in fact, the situation that we're talking about is a 3-way contention. It's unnecessary to have 3 potential hazardous paths when
Just because you think it's unnecessary doesn't mean it violates any code though.
I mean, my neighbor, the guy across the street from me, we're right on the corner of Bayville Avenue, and if I back up, my neighbor, the guy across from my street can back up into my driveway, and we got people turning in. There's no other way to do it.
But the conditions you're describing, are there 25, 30-foot green giants that are obstructing?
So maybe that should be the condition you're addressing, is the lack of visibility,
Yeah.
which is part of the local law that we just discussed, is the visibility from a fence or obstruction located close to the road.
And the green giants, because I have the problem with my other neighbor, that her hedges are too high, and she goes all the way to the corner, about 15 feet high. So that might be more of your issue. They might have to trim those hedges down so that there's more visibility.
Can I ask this question? Are you allowed in Bayville to put a new driveway in without a building permit?
Back then, I can't answer that.
It's not a structure.
You're telling me that anyone can put a new driveway in without a building permit?
Well, we don't, to my knowledge, we do not have what we call a curb cut. But some municipalities won't allow someone to put in a new driveway unless they get a curb cut from it.
Yeah.
But I don't believe our zoning ordinance contains anything on it that requires a permit for putting in a new driveway.
Are you allowed to park on your front lawn?
Pardon?
Are you allowed to park on your front lawn?
No.
Well, not now. Now you can't pave part of your property, and I believe there is a part of the code that talks about not parking on your lawn. I don't have an opinion about parking on your front lawn.
So does this condition represent someone who's parking on their front lawn?
No.
When they already have a driveway, that is asphalt driveway, and they're using this as a secondary location, which is equivalent to potentially being interpreted as being parking on their front lawn.
Yeah, but you're trying to say to somebody they can't do something on their own property, and I don't know whether or not what's going on there violates any particular part of our code. That's the problem. And I think, my brother lives on Waverly Avenue, and to pull out of his driveway, you've got to be extremely careful, because there are sight distance problems everywhere on the streets in Bayville. And therefore, I think everybody's got to exercise real caution. But to tell you can't park or come out of your property the way you want to come out of your property, I think it's difficult to enforce. And I don't know that the conditions on that property were established in an illegal manner. They don't appear to be, based upon some aerial photographs that go back to 2016. Okay, that's all. That's all.
I mean, we're not trying to skirt the truth here. The aerial photographs were produced to get to the facts. Okay, I thought that the law predated the establishment of.
It did. That's
okay. So I'd like to see a copy of that, and then secondly, I'd like to see the copy of when the 200 square feet pavement requires a storm drain. I'm
on to
That's a gravel. You said it's gravel.
He doesn't need a storm.
It's pavement according to the code.
Which code?
Gravel is not
Wait.
pavement, it's not impervious.
It's in the code. You want me to look it up? I'll look it up right now.
Gravel is an approved surface. You can park on blacktop, concrete, or gravel. Gravel does not require a drain. The water will seep right through it. It's not required to have a storm drain.
The pavement requires it because it has the
Because it's
runoff.
impervious.
Yeah, but not gravel.
And that's I think what happens here is that when these things occur, that's something the building inspector has to use his judgment about before he gets a CO to a place. You know, the guy builds a new house, he's got to put a driveway in and say, look, we want drainage, then you'll get your CO. And that's sort of
Okay, but
combined.
they don't have a CO to cover that driveway.
No, they don't need one. That's what I'm trying to say to you. They don't need a CO for that driveway because it's non-conforming, it's pre-existing. That's different. If somebody wants to establish a new one now, that'd be different. But the law, that condition has been there for, at least according to the information I've seen, since 2016 at least.
It hasn't been there square footage, but chances are today you wouldn't be able to install it, if that's your question. I mean, I don't know what the square footage of his front yard is, but if you wanted to install.
Well, according to Mr. Parentello, they've got pavement in 28% of their front yard, which is 7% over.
It may be. There are homes that have their entire front yard paved, which is the reason that.
Which is the reason
law
why
is in
we
place.
adopted the law in 2022. That's the reason we did it. That's my point.
But we have one person on our road, Valley Road, but he got a variance.
I don't know, what, recently?
Last couple of years.
I don't remember one. Oh, it must have been about 8 years. Yeah, so that's all. Like, so I don't know, you see, if something happened 8 years ago and the former building inspector said you can't do something and they had to go in and get a variance, then he has to go to the zoning board.
Right.
And so you can't correlate the two things necessarily, okay? But I think what is important though, I think is, you know, if this neighbor doesn't want to cooperate and he parks a car in a place like that and it's half out in the street, I call the police department and say, look, this is unsafe. And cops would probably tell him to say, get it out or park it properly, that's all. But he still has the right to use that.
And you would consider that a nuisance?
Pardon?
You wouldn't consider that a nuisance?
No, I mean, a nuisance, he could consider anything you do on your property as a nuisance because every time he drives by your property, once in a while he sees your car come out. Or, you know, I don't know how to answer your question totally because you could declare anything to be a so-called nuisance. But in this particular case, I think what we've got to try to do is to, you know, try to get along with each other. if the people aren't cooperative, then you have the right to make a complaint, and you've done that now. But I personally feel that, we can only tell someone.
I still think it's a public nuisance.
Okay, well,
And
that's,
public nuisances are not allowed in Bayville.
well, okay.
They are not. And there's no,
That's
there's
your.
no conditionality about that.
That's your
It
opinion.
says nuisances are illegal.
Oh, well, okay, I can't argue with you, because
No,
I
you can't
can't.
argue that point.
No, I'm not saying it is a nuisance or it isn't a nuisance. It's a nuisance to you, but whether or not it constitutes
Well, I'm
something.
talking about the community.
Yeah, well, okay, let's leave it at that. I think, everybody, has listened to what you have to say.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There's nobody else here, so I would guess that no one else has any comments.
Okay, then I'll take a motion to close the meeting with the River Chair at 7:32 p.m.
Make a motion.
Thank you, trustee Hubbard.
A second?
Thank you, trustee Walsh. Trustee Walsh?
Yeah.
Trustee Santoro? Trustee Tucker?
Yes.
Mayor Denine.
Yes.